Aaron Sparrow here. You may know me as the writer of Darkwing Duck or Death Rage or the upcoming Kneel Before Doomface. And I just want to go ahead and tell you right now that Fantastic Comics is the greatest comic shop to ever exist in the history of this universe or any other universe.
Andy Warhol and John Waters, in conjunction with Saliva Productions, present Jim Barrie's beloved children's classic, Peter Pan.
I think I see him.
No, that's just a cloud.
No, it's not. It's Peter.
I'm flying. Look at me way up high, suddenly here am I, I'm flying.
Yes, it's Divine, starring as the boy who wouldn't grow up.
I won't grow up.
I won't go up.
I don't want to go to school.
I don't want to go to school.
Just to learn to be a parrot.
Just to learn to be a parrot.
And recite a silly rule.
And recite a silly rule.
They took me off into a separate room. I seen them taking different people off, different ones of us off in separate rooms. And they put me on a big white table. And the guy that to take me there, the one of them that took me in there to examine me, I guess, he probed me. And then I was in there, I bet more than 3 or 4 hours in that room of being probed. And at one time or another, there's different ones of them come in, 4, 5, 6 of them at different times, and all of them probed me. Not all at once, you know, individually. Later on, years later, now even still, it's a funny thing. It happened on a Sunday, and every Sunday, about the time that I was taken on board that ship, I find I have no feelings in my buttocks.
That's the T-C.
Say, Doc, are you trying to get yourself in trouble with the law? This ain't rabbit hunting season.
It's not?
No, it's duck hunting season.
That, sir, is an investigated fabrication. It's rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
I say it's duck season, and I say fire.
I'm a little worried about your son, Bob.
We're sorry. I'm sorry, too.
There's no need to apologize, but let me ask you, what's the situation like at home?
It's fun. We get to run around and paint.
Oh, that seems healthy.
Yeah, I'm strong, like a Hulk.
Well, what happened?
Oh, well, it got so that every pissant prairie punk who thought he could shoot a gun would ride into town to try out the Waco Kid. I must have killed more men than Cecil B. DeMille. It got pretty gritty. I started to hear the word draw in my sleep. And one day, I was just walking down the street, and I heard a voice behind me say, "Reach for it, mister." I spun around, and there I was, face to face with a 6-year-old kid. Well, I just threw my guns down and walked away. Little bastard shot me in the ass. So I limped to the nearest saloon, crawled inside a whiskey bottle, and I've been there ever since.
This is where he every day I'm wearing a necklace like this, and he's in this urn.
Is his ashes?
Yeah, his ashes right here and here. Yep. So both of my grandpas are here.
What's that other thing on the necklace?
It's a Punisher emblem.
What's that about?
I like the Punisher just because he's he takes his the law into his own hands to punish the people that wronged him.
You worked at All American Burger
7 months ago.
I knew it.
Why don't you get a job, Spicoli?
What for?
You need money.
All I need are some tasty waves, cool buzz, and I'm fine.
Hey, Underpants, you mess with one boy adventurer, you mess with all of us.
I think they were hoping you'd say that.
Looks like you got a little, herpy on your lip there. You've been kissing your wife's ass after I put herpy in there.
Say, would you like a chocolate-covered pretzel? They're a little melty, but damn are they exquisite. And if I remember correctly, you're a big pretzel fan.
Dark chocolate.
Yeah?
No.
Oh, come on.
No,
They're
please.
awesome.
No.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Mmm.
Oh.
Coca leaves? Uh-huh. You mean the stuff that they make cocaine out of?
Yeah. Yeah, from South America. Peru, I believe.
Hey, aren't midgets great?
I don't hate them.
Sure, they're better than people because you're so slight. We're not so great because we're of normal height. We wish we were like you, so crazily small, instead of what we are, so wonderfully tall. Wonderfully tall. Oh, thank you.
This guy's been stoned since the 3rd grade.
Yes? Yeah, I'm registered in this class.
What class?
This is U.S. history. See the globe right there.
Really?
Hey, may I come in?
Oh, please. I get so lonely when I hear that 3rd attendance bell ring and all my kids are not here.
Sorry I'm late. It's just like this new schedule's totally confusing. Yeah, I know that, dude.
Mr. Spicoli.
That's the name they gave me. You're ripping my card.
Yeah.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
No problem at all. I think you know where the front office is.
You dick!
Oh, I come out to our blast you out.
For shame, Doc. Hunting rabbits with an elephant gun.
Elephant gun?
That's right, Doc. So why don't you go shoot yourself an elephant? You do, and I'll give you such a pinch!
We're going to start our follies. We hope you like the show. Every
Originally settled as Ocean View during the 1850s, the city's population boomed with displaced
But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
Hail to the king, baby. Fantastic Comics presents number 233. We're now back-to-back episodes. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. For those of you that are live, it is 8 o'clock on the West Coast on a Tuesday. And we're going to talk about all things comics because my name
is Yule Carter, comic book retailer in Berkeley, California.
That's right. Whoops, wrong button. I own a comic book store in Berkeley, California. We're open Wednesday through Sunday, 12 to 5 p.m. Sometimes I'm there a little bit longer. Probably I am. But, you know, a couple Fridays ago, I went to a baseball game. The only game the Dodgers have lost in like the last 6 or 7. So that was awesome. We went and saw Deadpool. Found out that the person we were waiting for, we did not miss. Well, we did, but it was kind of not our fault. So that's cool. And they ultimately ended up watching Deadpool, and we talked about that. It was great. Maybe we'll have a Deadpool episode. Talk about something we like, right? Yeah, we talk about things that are in the comic book store. Obviously, all those clips that I showed are going to prevent us from making any money as far as this show is concerned. So I think this is a good time for me to mention, well, you don't want to be like George Costanza.
You know, my last name is Costanza. That's Italian. So you and I are kind of like countrymen. Huh? Paisanos! 650 you change. Ah, yes. And I always take care of my paisanos. So here's a little something.
Antonio!
Si!
Vieni qua! Questa miserabile patrona!
I've been running around. Well, I did that. We have a Patreon. I hear that new customers we're not gonna get as much money from them because of some Apple thing, but existing people will get all your bucks, so don't worry about it. But I don't know, we have to figure out something so that maybe we don't have to do Patreon in the future. But until then, I would recommend if you want to drop $1 or something our way, subscribe to our Patreon. But most importantly, subscribe to our Substack. Every once in a while, we put some really good material out. Usually about the store, the comic books, or just things that are interesting. All right. So we talk about things in the comic store. One of the first things I like to get out of the way because it's something that happens in the comic store, but it's not always so prevalent with every single customer. But I do have conversations with them about this stuff. Here we go. That's right. The wrestling minute. I almost said council. I used to be on a show called The Wrestling Council, and then it quit, and then it got brought back again, but I'm not in it. How could the star of the show not be on that? Still call yourself the council, please. But here we only talk wrestling just a little bit. It's going to be a little over a minute because I have some clips I want to show you and maybe also a picture. Oh, yeah, here's a picture. It was announced that Randy Orton signed a 5-year deal with the WWE. So he's 44 now. And if I'm doing my math right, he'll either be like 49 or 50 when the next deal is over. So congratulations, Randy, when we're seeing all these guys retire early, not necessarily because of injury, but, John Cena, he's in his late 40s now. He's not going to be wrestling much after next year. Well, he says he's retired, so he won't be wrestling much after next year. We hardly ever really see The Rock. So we get people that return every once in a while, but I guess Bryan Danielson is going to be retiring real soon, like maybe sooner than later, and even sooner than that. So whatever your expectations for him are going forward, you might want to tamp down on those just a bit. All right, let's see. I'm trying to stand a figure that fell. Maybe it was that earthquake. Can you hear that motorcycle that's running past us? Jesus. All right, next up, RIP to Kevin Sullivan, the Taskmaster, mostly in WCW. Most people would know him from. He's like a Florida South wrestler, and he had a lot of people in his stable that were important, or at least formerly important. When the Hulk Hogan WCW days came around, oof. What are you going to do with Earthquake? You know what I mean? But Kevin Sullivan was 75, and he was pretty good brain as far as the industry is concerned. And although his body wasn't really, chiseled, and he wasn't super tall like a Hulk Hogan or have like quite the same charisma, he had a charisma that was good to feed off of, especially for like faces. So that's definitely a person that's going to be missed. In AEW, this is the only thing we're going to talk about. I guess ratings are bad. They're going to have their all-in pay-per-view from London. It's not the match that everybody thought was going to happen because Swerve was supposed to, everybody was, Swerve is going to go against the Limey. And we'll see if the Limey doesn't win. And everybody's pissed off because Swerve Strickland is a black guy, and AEW hasn't been really good about, featuring their prominent black characters character on television. And finally they had a thing going, and then they got their new little toy, and everybody was thinking that, like, anyway, Swerve ain't going to be going up against the Brit. So we'll see how that pay-per-view goes. And anyway, there's this commercial. It was a spot. It was a spot on the television show for Jack, Jungle Jack, whatever he's calling himself these days. Just watch this. It's only a few seconds.
The question is how much you're willing to sacrifice for it.
Why take less when you can get a beefy 5-layer burrito, a Chalupa Supreme, a double stacked taco, and a drink for just $7? It's Lux for less. Introducing the $7 Lux Cravings Box, only at Taco Bell.
Brain the past.
Just be quiet for a second. All right, I think we're okay. Wow, how could they have screwed up on this promo of Jack Perry's with putting this Taco Bell commercial? You could even see the AEW bug on it. So unless they did that to get people talking in some weird way, it is kind of strange. All right, so lastly, you remember I played some Hulk Hogan at the RNC where he tore off his shirt and he said, "I'm for Trump-a-mania," and all this other stuff. Well, there was a real American hero on television last week that was wrestling related. Navy SEAL, former governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura. What did he have to say?
I know a lot of great Marines, and Marines show respect, and Vance is not showing respect. And let's continue. Who does he have respect for? Donald Trump. The biggest draft dodger from the Vietnam War, the rich white boy who bought his way out of it. I come from South Minneapolis. My friends and I didn't get out of it. We either got drafted or we enlisted. I know 6 or 7 or 8 of my friends. Donald Trump was your typical rich white boy who didn't have to serve in Vietnam because he could buy his way out of it. And that's who Vance is standing with, this guy who leads from the rear.
Yeah, I agree. Also, why has it always got to be white? I can't help it. I Jesse Ventura, he's a wacko. He does some really crazy things and he can go off on some real Yule tangents. So I, of course, love him. He played a super heel in wrestling when he was on commentary, and he played it all the way through. We were allowed to be a lot more overtly racist than we are now. It's just kind of, it's like when I play a Taxi clip, and stuff like that. Jesse was playing that character. But so, like, dude, you're a libertarian, Jesse, and you don't necessarily vote, left or right. So how are you going to lean when it comes to this election this year? Because we know what Hogan's doing. So what's a superstar going to do?
Bobby's still a friend of mine, but I'll tell you where I stand right now. I'm going to be selfish. A few years ago, I got the opportunity to see the United States elect its first black president. I didn't think that could ever happen, and they even re-elected him. Well, now I'm going to be selfish again. I've only got a few elections to go. I'm 73 years old now, so the window's closing. I want to be alive to see the first woman president of the United States of America and the first woman commander-in-chief, and we've got her right now.
Fucking A. I know it was a little bit longer than Hogan's bit that I had, but he actually said words. If I would have let you see all of the words he said, it would be like, what? So check that interview out. I recommend it. And that's your Wrestling Minute. All right. Whew. Jesse Ventura, man, he just goes off. I was watching that interview again to get those clips together, and it was like, whoa. It's funny. And he also is like of that age where he's kind of like twitching, but as he's talking, it's like, I'm animated, this and that. But while the interviewer is asking him a question, he can't do this. He's like kind of moving around, you know what I mean? So it's tough seeing it's tough seeing people get old. All right. We're going to talk about some new comic books in just a little bit. Read the subscribe thing for all the things that are important. The Patreon, the Instagram. Yeah, I showed a comic book that I purchased recently, a few of them, and they got purchased. I'm not sure if it was, happenstance or it was a regular, but nonetheless, sometimes you get excited seeing things, and they were purchased. Yay. All right. This is a good time as any for me to say to each and every one of you.
We didn't come to borrow any money. We didn't come to borrow any dough. We didn't come to borrow any trouble. We just stopped in to say hello. Oh, hello to you, Mr. Manny. Please don't think that we are hammy. We just stopped in from Alabama. We just stopped in to say hello. Oh boy, you said it. We just stopped in to say hello. And don't forget it. We just stopped in to say hello. And I'm hello. Hello. Goodbye.
All right. Hello, everyone. We're going to talk about where I think comics are going to be going forward, because, you know, you hear a lot of people out there on the internet talking about things, making videos, all decrying, or it's usually the sky is falling, you know, when it comes to comic books. This is so bad, it's the worst. And, you know, I fall prey to doing that too. Maybe, like, I try not to say the word trash anymore, but, you know, everybody says something, whether it's bangers or trash or something that's going to be popular tomorrow. You know, you got to just kind of like work your way out of that, differentiate between one and another. But yeah, so we're going to talk about some things that, I don't know. Something on the side of the good of comics is a lot of people that are out there that were really helping drive the price and the FOMO of comic book collecting out there. They were also very instrumental in. Why? All right, I'll just wait. All right, well, let's see. It could be any minute now. Jesus Christ. La-di-da. We'll be in. Hey, it seems I'm back, everybody. Whoops, it was that last video. Damn. I'm not going to do the Wednesday one, by the way. Fantinuum, yo. Almost forgot to leave a comment. Stuck in performance review meetings all day, aka Bitch Fest 2024. All right. Well, maybe I'll have to like go back and splice this so we don't have that little space in between. For those of you, I don't know if you guys heard this, but I'll just say, so we're going to talk about some things about the comic book industry and where I think it might be going. All right. Gotham City Comics is here. Hopefully still here. Everybody let me know if you're still here. I'll read that too. Let's just see. Jilby Pill and Sabin Nur. Oh, awesome. Dwayne Muth. How's your father? You guys all have been here when I've done this before, so you know to stick around. Elithalor, remember when the AEW marks were talking about how Jack Perry was going to be the biggest heel in the business when he came back? That was not a good move when they did that CM Punk video. It just made everybody look stupid. And I mean, the only thing it could do is, you know, take the last remaining people that, you know, kind of stuck it out even after that fiasco. Just like, yeah, fuck it. Let's get out of here. And I think overall you can see that the ratings, I mean, when Bryan Danielson is out, what were they going to do? With the Lord, Kamala Harris got the Captain Freedom endorsement. All right. Michael Hudson. Oh no. Yes, Captain Freedom. Let's see. Okay, you guys all saying, oh. What? I typed in, just hang in there, everybody. I don't know if you saw it, but it says YouTube rejected it. Wonder if it was the Taco Bell bit from the AEW clip. I want to know if it's a Taco Bell, but it might be that. Yeah. Yes, the Three Stooges curse. You know it. Okay, excellent. Whoops, that's right. And Emil Semp. Excellent. All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for sticking it out. Look, I got a beer. God darn it. I gotta somehow figure out a way to be able to get to do that. I mean, I see so many other things do things like this. And how do they have like entire clips that just aren't taken down? It just makes no sense to me. I mean, they can't possibly, like these little piddly things can't possibly. It's because it's alive. That's why, probably. Wouldn't be the first time Taco Bell cost something to shit the bed. Well, it's the Fantastic Comics Presents. We're going to talk about some new comic books that are coming out tomorrow. But first, I'm going to talk about the best of last week. And the best comics of last week are, it's kind of prejudicial on my part. But it's part as a fan of comics, and also paying attention to what people are saying and just observing what sales are like, whether I like something or not. Now I have a couple of second, runners ups. So 3 issues. Scarlet still does very well in the store, as does most of the G.I. Joe comics. I don't over order on it, and often find myself having to reorder or get second and third prints. So Scarlet's doing just as well as Duke did and Cobra Commander. And I'm really looking forward to when Joshua Williamson takes over the new G.I. Joe series, which is happening later this year. So yay. Runner-up number 2, Venom War number 1 of 5. I'm not reading a bit of this, I promise. Well, there is a Spider-Man miniseries, so I might check it out. Could it possibly make me want to check this book out? I doubt it. Especially when you see how many other things there are that you might want to read, and I don't want to. But it did well, and, got to pay attention to that. Also, Spider-Man Reign did not sell very well, but I don't order it very heavily. Although, each of the covers are homages to other books that you may have seen before. And the art inside is so amazing that I had to pick it up. I mean, I like Spider-Man, and it's Spider-Man in the future. And I know a bunch of people bitch about the first one, but I was on Thinking Critical Comics Aficionados when Kari Andrews was on. And he explained himself and said, you guys are full of it. And yet, even after saying that, they continued it. Like, they believe it so much that when the person who wrote it and drew it said that's not the way it is, it's, it's headcanon now, whether or not you can understand that it is. 5th place is Neil Before Zod number 8, and I'm gonna be real with you in just a moment, and a little spoilery also. This is the last issue of the series. It was supposed to go, it was supposed to be an ongoing. And Joe was saying that, 12 issues was definitely where, it was going to be more than 12. And he got 8 issues, which is kind of sucks. Because I was really enjoying this, a book I didn't think I'd really want to read because I'm not really into villains. But if I was going to read one, the Superman Zod has been built on for a long time now and has, a character to follow. And he experienced so much loss within the first 4 issues that you can kind of see where how the parts of the story were going. So you had the 4 And then it felt like this issue doesn't feel done. This issue doesn't feel done. And it's like, give this guy a double issue, give him a mini series to follow up, give him an annual so that he can write a 48 page to do it. Instead, it's like, stay tuned. Which I guess is classic for some comic books to go out that way. And I don't know. It's typical of books I normally like. That's what happens. Here's a book that sold out. I did not read it, but Oni's EC comic books have been doing really well for me, and the covers have been great. The art and the stories inside, well, there's a lot of different people working on them, industry greats of today, until the greats don't want to do it anymore. But it's only a mini series anyway, 5 issues. And if you're into that kind of stuff, well, I sold out, but I did order more. So come on in and get it. All right. Third up, Avengers number 17 was a sellout. Valerio Schiti is the new artist on the book. Jed MacKay is still the writer. I like Jed MacKay. I think he's doing a good job. A lot of people poo-poo his stuff because, that's pretty much what they do. And the Avengers isn't really my favorite book anyway, but I do like X-Men and I do like Storm. So to see her come on this book has obviously excited a bunch of people. And there were a bunch of covers of the Avengers, all with Storm on them. So there was a lot of reasons to get multiple copies if you're that kind of person, or, just the one that you like. Number 2, Ultimate Black Panther. I am enjoying this series, and I have been behind on almost all of them up until issue 6 and 7. Love it. Think it's really good, and they're going to war at the end of this issue. Cool stuff. The last best of last week is, can you guess? Let me take a sip. Uncanny X-Men by Gail Simone and David Marquez. X-Men number 1 was a good issue by Jed MacKay. Ryan Stegman was on art on that one. And Gail Simone recently wrote a very good first issue of a 3-parter in Action Comics. Now, I have come across a lot of Gail Simone fans in my life. And they really like Gail Simone's writing. I, on the other hand, do not like Gail Simone's writing. Like, I think she understands pacing and can craft, a story that I'd be interested in. But, it's kind of like when you read Brian Michael Bendis. At first, it's kind of new. Well, for me, her new thing wasn't anything I was really into, and it just really hasn't been anything I've really enjoyed. Now, but Bendis at one time I did like, and then I just couldn't stand it anymore. Funny enough, Bendis has come on and done other things, and I've hated them even more. But Gail Simone in Action Comics and now in Uncanny X-Men number 1, I think she's doing a fantastic job. This is a really good first issue. It just kind of gets you into it. It explains some things about the past if you really got to know, but if you don't. It's not that big a deal. Mutants aren't very loved by people, duh. So, I thought it was really good. The artwork was excellent. And I kind of hope that right now with what Marvel is doing, that they're not going to do these really big, grandiose stories. I know they can't help themselves. But if you can keep them to subplots and miniseries events later on, hopefully well paced between other ones, that would be some way to do it. But right now, the little short get in, get out stories, I'm enjoying those. And Gail Simone did a really good one. I liked it. Best of last week. That was what was. All right, let's see. Go back to comments. Illithid lore. R.I.P. Kneel before Zod. DC did us all dirty cutting it short with that rushed ending, but at least you survived, Yule. Yule 9. That's the spoiler. That's right. Really sucks they pulled the plug on Kneel before Zod, Jolly Green says. I totally agree. Cruel Universe was better than the other EC book, which was Epitaphs of Eternity? I don't know, whatever. I'm sure. Maybe Universe. I'm assuming Cruel Universe is like weird science stories of like an EC book. So something other than just like straight horror would be more my cup of tea right now. DC has absolutely no faith in their books. None at all. Clown. I agree. I'll drink to that. I don't. So when I was younger, my 20s, even, like, comics would go, like DC, a comic could fall out of bed and go 24 issues, you know? So, Amethyst, I mean, there were so many issues of Amethyst. They did these mini series like, it was Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan. I always forget the name of it, but, Night. Anyway, they did a book. It's like 12 issues. It's all like these characters nobody knows. The Sonic Disruptors comic, the Lords of the Ultra Realm. Pat Broderick drew it. I think Doug Moenk wrote it. They would just do these miniseries that had nothing, if you can believe it, to do with a DC universe, or even more importantly, the fucking Batman. It was like, holy cow, so many other things to read. And I think when people are lamenting the sad state of things, what they may not realize, because we see so much else in a comic store, if you have the kind of comic store that has so much other things that isn't just Marvel and DC. When you go into my store, there's going to be other things, but if you don't make it a super popular book, it might just be for the customers that want it. So you gotta jump and let me know. But you gotta jump and let your store know that this is something that you're interested. I like this. Get me more. But it can't just be all Batman all the time. It can't be all DC Universe all the time. And what they've done right now, the thing that made DC different was that it wasn't always superhero stuff. And I'm not even talking Swamp Thing. And then later on, when you had like Vertigo, you got something different again for a long time. But then they did Young Animal, and they try to make it like a Vertigo in the DC universe. And all right, so I know the F word can be used in Gotham because of Mother Night or whatever the hell that comic book was called. Like, congratulations, someone that isn't Batman said the F word. Nathaniel Dusk by McGregor and Colin from his pencils. Nice. That was DC also. I think that was a 6th issue. There was the they did a lot more anthologies. Marvel did a lot more things also. Ooh. And let me turn that off so we don't have to hear that. Marvel did magazine-sized stuff, and then DC did graphic novels, and Marvel had graphic novels, larger-sized magazine-type books. There were magazines about the industry, and they talked about it at length. I know that there's the internet now, and you could go to Bleeding Cool to try and get some, commentary on comics. I know the Comics Journal has an online subscription, and you assume that the Comics Journal has a certain amount of snobbery that's going to make sure that it's well written, as opposed to most of the other things. But everything's so very clickbaity these days. I mean, I understand. This is a clickbait not unlike anything you see on X or whatever, Instagram or Facebook post or website. It's like you got, Google News. Google News. Why do they give a fuck about wrestling? Anyway, look at this. The Wonder Woman who wasn't. The future new X-Men. So even back here in 1980, they knew that, the X-Men was already a thing. When Titans clash, they really burn your comic collection. The rape of Ms. Marvel. I mean, they got it all right here. That's as clickbaity as you get. And then you see all the people's names, and there's Kurt Busiek and Carol Kalish and all sorts of other people. You made Don and Maggie Thompson. Oh, man. But it's written, and you don't read it all and just, on the toilet. I mean, you read it in the toilet, obviously, but, it takes a few more minutes than what you probably have allotted for the time in there. Don't sit on that toilet, Let me tell you. All right, I've gone off on a tangent. Let's talk about some new comics that are coming out. You can imagine Rear Window, right? All right, new comics tomorrow. Let me put that up. All right. So quiet without sound, without music to be in between. All right. Amazing Spider-Man 55. Case in point. Everybody always shits on this book. I mean, geez Louise. Just don't read the fucking book. You know what I mean? Yeah, you almost got me down for this freaking book, but I enjoy it. Not this issue necessarily. I haven't read it yet. But I liked it. And I understand that my words can hurt when I say something like Quasar's lame. But I want you to know that when I say Quasar is lame, it's because he's fucking lame. No, I like lame characters too. Like I just said, I have comics that get canceled all the time. I read the comics that are never going to last. Ever. That most people aren't even going to know. And it's not even because I want to know something that other people don't know about. I mean, it's kind of cool, but if you can't share it, or at least, talk to another person about it. I showed a guy that comes into the store and hangs out the Jam the other day. And I was like, this is a superhero book I think a person can get. If you're like, when you don't like a book like Spider-Man, maybe it's just because you finally graduated beyond superhero comic books. Don't read superhero comic books anymore. They're not giving you what you need. Find another book, find another writer that's doing something, and then read that. That's what I would recommend. And if it's not that, get it for the art, because there's been great art in Amazing Spider-Man throughout. If you don't like John Romita Jr., he hasn't done every single issue. So there has been great art throughout this entire run. It's been inconsistent because of so many people doing it. But for the most part, it's for the length of a story, and it's not that bad. But anyway, just don't read it if you don't like it. You can tell me if you don't like it. I mean, I don't want to order it, you know what I mean? Anyway, Amazing Spider-Man 55. This is the end of the Zeb Wells run. Well, I should say this is the beginning of the end. He was gifted a few more issues before Joe Kelly starts up. And anybody that knows me knows that I am a big Joe Kelly fan. This would be a good time for me to show that picture of him holding that sign, but I didn't think about what I was going to be saying as far as that. is concerned. Anyway, Zeb Wells, who, by the way, was involved in the billion-dollar movie Deadpool, Wolverine. So there you go. All right. Oh, the aforementioned Gail Simone on part 2 of this Action Comics story. What's going to happen is she's going to do this, and then Action Comics is going to go, I shudder to think about it, weekly. If you're a big fan of Gail Simone and Mark Waid and some of the other people that are going to be working on it, they will have good art on it also. You're going to want to let me know up front, because I dread thinking about just 2 copies being left over after 2 months. Just think about it. 2 issues is not a lot. But when 8 issues is 8 weeks and not 8 months, it's a lot of comic books. It's a lot of waste. Transformers number 11. We are quickly approaching the end of Daniel Warren Johnson writing Transformers. Excuse me. Eisner Award-winning writer, Eisner Award-winning illustrator, Daniel Warren Johnson. And I know out there people are thinking to yourselves, oh, but the Eisners, they're just the Hollywood Awards, you know. And yes, that's true. But I want you to think about how many times the Hollywood Awards, or even the Eisners, has sunk so low as to give something like Transformers an award. Okay? Even the person in does Michael Bay get any directing awards for those movies? Does any of the actors? I don't know. There was a woman. There was a guy. Wasn't John Cena in one of them? Do they win the awards for the movie? No, they don't. Daniel Warren Johnson, this guy, for his Transformers work, but truly for all his work, won Best Writer and Best Illustrator. He only did 6 issues of Transformers as far as the interiors are concerned. But I 100% agree. If you're ever going to give somebody an award for Best Writer and Best Artist right now, he can drive people to read a comic book, especially if it's got behind it. So I think the next people that get him to do something for them, they should really put some effort into it. All right, next up. The Ultimates, number 3. Oh, I still haven't finished number 1. I've read every other Ultimate book, but I have not finished number 1. I think that says something more about me than it does the Ultimates. But you know how it is. Oh, look at that. Jed McKay, the guy who runs Marvel Comics right now. He wrote the Sold Out Avengers. I have 1 first print Psylocke J. Scott Campbell variant left of number 1. And I have some reprints of number 1 coming in. Or second prints, I should say. And now X-Men number 2 is coming in. So, happy days. There's a lot of books this week, so hang on tight. Because we're now getting into multiverse comic books. That's right. We've got Batman Gotham by Gaslight, The Kryptonian Age, number 3 by Andy Diggle, and Leandro Fernandez. All right, Matt Hollingsworth on coloring, so you know this is going to be a great looking book. Look at it. We've got a Wonder Woman sighting. What if Robin lived You know, the one that got killed by the Joker, but not by getting beat by a crowbar like everybody thinks, but by an explosion in the thing that he was locked in. That's how he died. Well, he didn't die. And what would happen for 4 whole issues? Rick Leonardi on artwork, awesome. J.M. DeMatteis on writing. We could get into that some other day. DC versus Vampires World War V. Matthew Rosenberg is back on one of the few books I think I've liked him on. Granted, I only read the first issue of 12, and it was a long time in between some of those issues. And Otto Schmidt was the artist on that, and he's fantastic. Love Otto Schmidt. So, yeah, if you like vampires and, you know, vampires, you should check this book out. But wait, Marvel has multiverses of their own. They just do things like the Spider Society, Enter the Spider Versers. Oh, Jesus. See, this is what I'm talking about. Holy cow, there's a Craven Spider-Man. Jesus. And then you get your normal comic book, Spider-Boy, which is really anything but normal. Spider-Boy. And Jesus Christ, the Spider-Verse is here too. The Spider-Verse is here too. I can't escape it. Multi-armed Spider-Man. Disco Spider-Man. Oh, Doc Ock Spider-Man? Is that what that is? Jesus. They gotta pay these people more, or at least have something in line if something that they create is worth a shit, so that people will do something for them other than just regurgitate. Oh, look, this is the Flash. Oh, what if it was the horror Flash? Oh, what if it was a monkey Flash? Oh, what if it was a Flash with guns? What if it was a Flash that was Professor Zoom? Isn't that the same fucking thing? I have a Flash figure right in front of me. It's the only thing I can come up with. I should write it. Marvel. Moon Knight, Vengeance of the Moon Knight, number 8. Jed McKay. Have you heard that name before? Oh, look, he's fighting a different Moon Knight. How exciting. Green Lantern, number 14 by Jeremy Adams, the guy that writes Flash Gordon. That's right. I sold out of that too. Well, I don't sell out of Green Lantern. I would like to. It's a really good book. I know it's got this whole absolute power tie-in thing going on right now, so forgive it. But, you know, it's been a really good series, so you should check it out. Fantastic Four, number 23. It keeps chugging along without me. I sell it really well, though, and it has great covers. Immortal Thor. Oh, Thor versus Zeus. All right. This is the 775th issue of Thor. Damn. Think about that. Al Ewing writes it. By the way, it's number 14. All right. You're going to hear a lot of things out there about this comic book. And I'm going to let you know because I read this one already. So, out there, people that like to not like comic books don't like Mark Russell. But funny enough, the people in my store that buy comics often like Mark Russell. Interesting. And quite often, they actually read the comic books and don't just let them sit in piles, you know, like they're Spider-Man. So X Factor number 1 is out, and this is pretty much the most mainstreamy thing Mark Russell has done. I mean, he's worked at Marvel, or I think he's worked at DC. Hell, he did a DC Millennium back when Grant Morrison was writing Justice League. You know, they do those 80-page or 100-page books, and he did some stories in that. So he's been around a long time. And I got to admit, most of the things that I've liked have been his things that are for like AWA and some of the other companies out there. I think he does an Ablaze comic book, Traveling to Mars. He did a really cool Lone Ranger for Dynamite. He slummed it over there, but now now he's doing an X-Men comic book, which is post Krakoa, so it's from the ashes, and he's telling a a social media driven X Factor team, which is not necessarily a new thing. Joe Casey was really into writing about the fame of being a mutant back in 2000. The fame of superheroes is not an uncommon theme. I mean, Rob Liefeld did it with Youngblood. And since then, we saw Marvel movies do it with Iron Man. You know, Tony Stark was way more a celebrity than he was ever really before in the comic books. So it's not an uncommon theme. And even when Peter Milligan, Joe Casey was doing his style, Grant Morrison was doing his style in a more real world style. Peter Milligan was writing X-Force, which eventually becomes Ecstatics. So this is kind of in line with that type of a book. And we see a team that's put together by this corporate dude, and they've got like a TikTok kind of thing going on. Mark Russell's pretty heavy with his satire, and it's in here for sure. He's holding a mirror up to society, to the comic book reader, because they need it. It's Bob Quinn on art, and Bob Quinn was garbage. I said I wasn't going to call things trash. He was horrible in Captain America. I mean, when Ta-Nehisi Coates was writing, it was horrible. I could only imagine what he was given to work with so he would draw. And they were really trying to get that out as quick as possible. And this is the first issue with some people working on it, so they're going to put a little bit more effort into it also. And I thought it was really good. I liked it. It was funny. It worked well with the story that was being told, but it wasn't so much cartoony that you couldn't get into it as a normal X-Men reader. I think it was a really good issue, and quite possibly when people are looking at the entirety of the From the Ashes X-Men, they might be looking at this just like they did Peter David's X Factor back in the Joe Casey, Peter Milligan, Grant Morrison days, the best X book going at the time. How's that? Last issue of Sensational She-Hulk. I'm not really sad to see it go. It was just kind of a soap opera comic book to me, but men and women both would buy this book, and it wasn't small enough numbers for me to not have it on the shelf. And I do sell it after the fact too. So even though it's not for me, whatever. It's cool. Absolute Task Force 7, number 4. This one is written by Pornsak Pishatstat. Jesus. I love that name. It's so hard to say, though. It's the absolute power thing. You know how it is. Geiger by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. Man, they're just pumping these out, aren't they? This is probably like the lowest selling of all the Jeff Johns Ghost Machine books right now. But even it eventually sells out. Obviously, the Rook Exodus books are the big ones to pay attention to. I don't like this cover at all. It makes me sad. Helverine number 4. I don't care. Iron Fist number 1. It's just a one-shot, everybody. It's got Chris Claremont, Alyssa Wong, and other people working on this book. Is that Ty Templeton on art? And Whilce Portacio? Holy cow. This might be something to pick up. I don't know. I didn't get a ton of them, but I'm sure I got enough for the people that want them. Precious Metal number 3. This is a Birdland. I think it's called Birdland. No. Oh, darn, wrong one. Let me see. A Little Bird. It's a From the World of Little Bird story. And yeah, there you go. It's got great art by Ian Bertram. I haven't read this one, but Little Bird's excellent, so I highly recommend it anyway. Johnny Quest #1. Dynamite is all in, just like almost every company. You got Transformers and G.I. Joe holding the Olympic torch for property comic books out there, unless you count Marvel and DC Comics. Then you have, and then if you do, you probably put Star Wars after that. You have Thundercats at Dynamite. You got the Chitara comic at Dynamite. You got Space Ghost comic from Dynamite. You got Johnny Quest from Dynamite. You've got Mad Cave doing Flash Gordon and Gotchamon and Defenders of the Earth. You got Sonic the Hedgehog at Archie, or whatever the hell they're called. IDW. Of course, IDW is just mainly a company that does that kind of stuff. Whew. But Joe Casey's writing this, so regardless of how I feel about it, I'm a Johnny Quest fan. And if you think he's going to throw in Venture Brothers stuff, think again. It's going to be classic Johnny Quest stuff. And if you're a fan of that, you're going to be a fan of this. Guarantee. Maybe he'll get more than 8 issues ultimately. Werewolf by Night Red Band Edition. It's bagged is what that means, and it's violent. They might even curse at it. Who cares? It's Werewolf by Night. You gotta get it. Thought I was going to go a different direction on that, huh? Couple more, everybody. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Night Watcher #1. It's a side story. I don't care. I already don't care. But I have turtle fans that will, so, it's just not my turtles. What can I say? Last in the comic book field, we have Guilt Frame #1 of 3 by Margie and Matt Kint. I assume they're related, and I think it's a husband and wife situation. If you're a fan of British mysteries, and maybe just mysteries in general, but you know what I mean. 2 people that are different, but maybe the same. I'm an old man, and you're you're a young child playing chess. We're in the chess tournaments together. Maybe we do it at the park. And, firstly, someone is dead on one of the chess boards, so we have to solve that murder. And then all of a sudden we're solving murders. So, something like that. Well, we have 2 characters that are together for whatever reason. You find out inside. I don't want to spoil it. And they have, they're trying to they solve mysteries, but they're trying to figure out what's the deal with this chair that they bought at auction that someone wants to spend so much money for. And you get a lot of cool backstory. It's a thick book. I read it like in 3 different sittings. It's $9.99, but boy, I really think you get your money's worth on that. Matt Kint's style is a little different. Not everybody's going to enjoy it, but if you're looking for something different, something that you can take some time and digest and actually, put down, go back to and read, you're going to find a very, very, very enjoyable comic book, like most Matt Kint books. And I assume the price is going to be difficult for some people. I didn't order it heavy, but it should be probably readily available for reorders. So let your local comic book store know that you want Dark Horse's Guilt Frame, GILT. And lastly, from Image Comics, we have Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, Houses of the Unholy. And this is all about satanic panic type stuff. Well, it's not all about that, but what it is like at the very beginning of the story, I'm just going to let you know this little bit. we have a character that gets a bungalow, rents a bungalow out in the middle of nowhere, and Sean Phillips, of course, doing great stuff as always, goes to the back of her trunk, and there's a person inside. And like I said, satanic panic from the 80s was a thing. You would have news reports. There was a famous 60 Minutes report about Satanists, Dungeons and Dragons, heavy metal music. It was all the rage back when I was a kid. I don't know if you guys know about this, but they even do like a sort of what was it? It was the preschool, the Macmillan preschool, I think that was called, where the kids said that there was like, naked devil sex orgies where kids were killed and all sorts of other shit. They kind of play off that also. And I know it's not Macmillan, but whatever. Someone in comments can let me know. Let me go to comments really quick. Kardak the Mystic by Joe Corallo comes out tomorrow also. That's right. Matt Kent is on my shit list due to causing me to waste $24 on his If You Find This, I'm Already Dead series. Well, I don't think he caused you to do that, but I can understand. Love the red words. I know. Isn't that hot? So heavy metal. Look, it's like that. Anyway, my son went out with his friends, and they had swords and other weapons, and they went into like drainage ditches and sewers and all this other stuff, and then one kid ends up dead, maybe sacrificed. Holy cow. And then it was like, now you're listening, you're like, oh, dude, Mom, I'm listening to Twisted Sister, I mean, trust me. Trust me. You're gonna burn in hell. Oh, yeah. Kiss. Kiss was a big one. Yeah. All those groups. Alice Cooper, right? Yeah. He's got all this. Oh, it's just like Kabuki. They'd get on like Sally Jesse Raphael. Oh, we're going to have Alice Cooper on this episode. And it's like, wow, any credibility that you may have had with kids that thought you were rad for being Satan-like. When you're fucking sitting on Geraldo Rivera, it's over. It's over. When you are on Fox News, it's over. When you're it's just the way you're not too cool when you're on, when you're on Fantastic Comics Presents. Yeah, anyhow. All right, let's see if this doesn't get us kicked off. That's right. It's almost the end of the show, and I should let you know about all my awesome patrons that are still with me to this day. That's right. It's almost the end of the show. Can you hear that? I thought I turned that all down. I wanted to make sure that didn't kick me off. Yeah, thank you, everybody. We're almost there. We're almost there. It's so hard, let me tell you, but I was telling Jill earlier today about, the store situation. See, if anybody doesn't know, we're a very small store in a location in Berkeley that we've got new customers and we've retained some customers, but of course there was COVID, and we were traveling from a very large store in a more heavily walked area. Just because it was heavily walked, it doesn't necessarily mean it was a good thing. But we were right next door to Half Price Books, which again isn't necessarily a good thing, and the BART station, which was like immediately by our store, and I would suggest it was probably 70-30 good. But there was times when they were doing construction there for 3 years. It wasn't that great. You know what I mean? I feel like I was misled by the city. If anybody wants to take a case against the city of Berkeley for me, maybe we could come up with something. I was sold a bad bill of goods. Anyway, thank you, everybody. You're awesome. More than I deserve. Not more than I need, though. I'm working on some stuff, believe it or not. But it's taking a little bit longer than normal because of all the other stuff that's taking longer than normal. But it's getting there. So stay tuned. Yeah, I guess that's about it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is going to be a quick show. I'm going to play the one that never gets us kicked off. But, if it does, I'll see you next time. Bye.
Lucy and Ramona cruising through the jungles of L.A. Hoping to promote a dream somewhere along the way. They're rolling through the streets, looking for a disco, passing up the treats from a kid named Cisco, trying to make connections with their blemish-free complexions, and just as fate would have it, ended up with Sunset Sam. Sam was selling watches from a suitcase on a TV tray. And Lucy and Ramona kept trying to figure out if he was gay. The three of them were standing, staring at each other, when the light behind their eyes blew each other's cover. The ancient code was branded, and each of them was handed a ticket to their kingdom, 'cause they saw their brother Sunset Sam. Lucy was from Compton, and she met Ramona at the zoo. Ramona was from Brooklyn. She left when she was 22. Sam was a native of the Arizona desert, but he split when he was slated for some governmental make-work. Their differences subsided when the common bond was sighted. They were all from the same place that made the famous Sunset Sam.